It's from Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dmitry Kirchev. With me today is Mr. Nikolai Stoykov.
Hello, Mr. Kirchev, and hello to our lovely audience.
Right to the topic of today's
Your
episode.
favorite topic.
Yeah. Changing the format a bit
Yes.
from integrity, deep knowledge, all the way to how to party like a rock star in New York
Right.
City.
Do you want to party like a rock star, Mr. Kirchev?
So many questions in the back of my mind. I don't even know where to start. So, what is the party scene in New York City, in Manhattan?
It's very sceney, as we call it. My experience goes back like a long time ago. I guess the scene kind of changes, but I'm sure the essence of it probably hasn't. It could be quite intense. It could be quite intense. Everything in Manhattan and New York is very intense and kind of like, there is quite a bit of people interested in partying very hard in New York, and things could get really insane and intense at the same time.
I'm just gonna go right to what concerns me the most, and
Uh-huh.
I believe a lot of people from our audience are gonna wonder: is it accurate what is shown on The Wolf of Wall Street? Is that how you party? Is it overstated? Is it understated?
Many people would guess that it's kind of overstated, and there's quite a few elements that are overstated, but in some respects it actually could be accurate, some respects, and in some respects it's actually understated. So
So there are understated elements in that movie.
yes, there are understated elements. Yes, there are. I mean, I guess the best thing to do is just start with the story and then just trickle down and see how it goes. I guess it took me a little bit of time to kind of find my own kind of environment or like friends, people to go to. And it takes actually some sort of like a little bit of money. It could take a lot of money, but at least some money is required.
It's required. So, but does that mean money gets you an entrance?
Well, somebody needs to pay the bill, and by definition, if you're a guy, you probably have to pay some of the bill.
But is it hard to get in? Are the barriers?
The barrier is not just monetary. If you have a lot of money and you want to party hard like in New York, that's not guaranteed to happen. So you have
It's
to
not
have,
guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. I mean, there's plenty of people that are willing to pay money, but if you want to get to the hottest parties, if you want to get to the hottest, after parties, you have to know people to get you there. And just because you have money and you paid for some sort of champagne or table at the club, doesn't mean people would invite you to the after party. No, it doesn't work like that.
How does it work then?
Well, really,
I'm a young investment banker on Wall Street. What do I need to do? I have the money.
You have the money.
I have the money.
Well, you have to meet the right people.
I'm socially awkward.
That's not necessarily a problem. If you're like too outgoing, that could be a problem as well. People may not like you. You may think you're very cool, but actually people may not like you. I guess the most important thing is to have people in your age group, people that you kind of went to school or you feel kind of similar backgrounds. They need to start getting into the party scene, and that's how you get introduced into the party scene. There's probably like a way to maybe invest in a nightclub or become one of the investors in a nightclub. That's a good way to get into the scene if you have money. But just because you spend money at a few nightclubs doesn't mean that you immediately are invited. But yeah, some people make an investment actually. They kind of become.
I just want to have some fun, take some illegal substances. I'm not talking about investing in clubs. Isn't there an easier way? How did you do it? Did you invest in clubs?
No, I didn't invest in club. I have a few friends that actually did invest. in a nightclub, but that was kind of like a little bit later. For me, it happened by chance. Well, not really by chance. We've been maybe in New York for like a few years, maybe like 4 or 5, and I'm approaching like late 20s, and that's when you kind of like your peers, the people that you kind of compare yourself to, are also progressing in their careers, meeting people, and they introduced me to different people, and that's how I got in. I guess like nothing beats the story, and the story is kind of interesting. I had a friend from Bulgaria that was very, very much invested into going out. I mean, he was the kind of guy that always kind of looking to go out, the kind of guy that always...
Did he have the money for it? Could he afford it?
Yeah, he could afford it. And once in a while I'll join him, but not too eager into the whole thing. And people tell stories about many of those things that happen at nightclubs. And sometimes those stories are true, sometimes those stories are not true. But usually if you hear a very unusual story,
it has some truth in it.
It's probably true. If it sounds so bizarre and so kind of unusual,
one of these you can't make this up moments.
You can't make this up. So he was very much into like this whole scene and like going meeting chicks and kind of like going to like clubs. Very meticulous actually. So like he would maintain a list of people he would call, girls he would call, to invite them out. So like, you know, it takes quite a bit of effort to do it. I really don't think I valued it that much to do something like that. Anyway, he started telling me about this guy, and here we're going to speak about my friend Timmy. Timmy, and if you're ever listening, shout out and lots of love, brother. He started telling me about this guy Timmy, and said like, Timmy is like, you know, a very good looking guy. Chicks love him. So I said like, what do you mean chicks love him? Tell me an example. And he said like, well, we're at an after party at his apartment, and there's a bunch of girls, a bunch of guys, and he's speaking to one girl. There's 2 girls waiting to speak to him.
On the line,
waiting for him to stop speaking to that girl so they could speak to him. And I went to them to kind of warm them up, just to like, you know, so to keep them company while they're waiting to speak to him. And they blew me off not to look bad. And that sounds so bizarre that I was like, holy shit, this could be really true.
Timmy, if you're listening to this, I wish I was as cool as you.
Right. So we make some sort of plans to like go out, and there's going to be a bunch of us, maybe like 8 or 9 people, I don't remember. And I meet Timmy, and he's a very good-looking guy. I'm kind of shy. I was expecting somebody that was kind of like a go-getter that would just constantly be hunting for girls, but it's not exactly what he was. And I remember that we must have had some sort of a nice conversation, and he seemed very, very nice. Actually, truly nice. It's very rare to actually meet nice people in New York that are balanced. There's usually people with disbalance in some sort of way, very fast talking, very pushy, very energetic, and it's truly a rarity to meet somebody that's nice and kind of calm and and genuinely very, very polite, very polite. And for some reason, it must have been like a Friday, the Saturday, the day after, around like maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I get this kind of idea that, hey, let's call Timmy. And I still remember the conversation I had with him. And I'm calling him up, and phone's ringing, and he picks up. I later learned that he probably picks up maybe 50% of his calls. I mean, his phone was always ringing. It's kind of like, you know, if he doesn't get 20 to 30 calls a day.
Damn.
That's always ringing. And he picked up almost immediately and said, "Hey, Nick," and I said, "Hey, Timmy, I feel strange making this phone call because I don't think you're gay, and I'm certainly not gay." But and usually the day after, I only call girls that I meet. But I had a good time last night, and I was hoping that we can do this again. And he started laughing. Started laughing. Said like, "I know what you mean, and yeah, we'll definitely do it again." And yeah, that's how I met Timmy. And
Was Timmy was he like a rock star on the clubbing scene or what?
not really, but he was different in a way that I haven't even seen in the movies. So, with maybe like a month or two after this conversation, Timmy told me that he is moving to his own apartment, and his apartment was basically like some sort of a party den, in the sense that like a 3,000 square foot apartment, maybe that's like 300 square meters, 3 levels. And the lowest level is basically a party basement, complete with like an indoor pool.
Indoor pool?
Yes.
In a 300 square meter apartment in Manhattan.
In Manhattan, yeah. Soundproof basement. And yes.
How soundproof?
Soundproof
How
basement.
convenient.
How convenient, yes. So, yeah, we moved in and lived together for nearly a year. And yeah, that's kind of like my insane period of partying in New York. Immediately after I kind of like met Timmy, I realized that he's different than most men. Things were happening to him that as I said, I had not seen in the movie happening. For example, we go in for some sort of brunch at a restaurant on a regular day, like Saturday or Sunday. And on the way up, like the hostess would give him a phone number.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Like without exchanging words, no conversation?
With no excessive exchange of conversation. So basically, like, we wait for a table, maybe for a few minutes, maybe we strike a conversation with her, and she'll sit us, but he wouldn't go and kind of pay attention to her, or like go to the bathroom and then kind of drop by. He would just be at the table, and before we go, the hostess would give him a phone number. And he wouldn't really kind of brag about this or talk about this. I'm sure that things like that must have happened even when I'm not there. I probably witnessed it, like, as I said, in the course of a year, maybe about 10 to 15 times. So once a month I would see like at least one girl just drop him like a phone number, and usually you would expect those girls to be crazy. They probably are a little bit, but some of them are very good looking, and that was the strange part. And it turns out that good looking women in Manhattan do give their phone number to men. I haven't met anybody that has consistently gotten that many numbers that I've seen.
What was Timmy doing for a living?
He was a broker.
Oh.
He was a broker. Derivatives broker.
He was a good derivatives broker.
Right, yes.
Okay, so Timmy, from what I understand, Timmy gave you an entrance on the club scene, or
yes, Timmy was part of the clubbing scene, or like the partying scene for a while, and he introduced me to a lot of people, and we kind of partied for about a year, not non-stop, but fairly regularly.
How does going out to party intersect, and does it intersect at all with prospective clients or existing clients?
It does.
Oh, it does?
It does, yes.
So that's like part of the job?
Yeah.
So that's like in the movies.
It is part of the job. It just, there's different styles, and every broker brings his own style, and Timmy was clearly not the only broker. Pretty much every broker tries to take clients out, but sometimes those affairs could be very slimy. People go directly to strip clubs. There's no kind of pleasure or class into it. And
no foreplay.
No.
If you go directly to strip clubs.
In general, like, would you like to go and have a good time with good-looking girls, and even if you don't get to see them naked, but really good-looking girls and normal girls. Or would you like to go to a strip club and have like a dancer pretend that she likes you? There's some sort of like a premium for genuine experience. When the girls are really good-looking and they have really good-looking, like good time, it's a lot of fun. It's something that enjoys. It's like it doesn't need to be about kind of like sex or get like excessively sexual. It's just people. Yeah, yeah. You need to have a good time. I mean, just because you go to a strip club, and even if the good women are actually decent, because they're rarely like strip club girls would be that good looking. Yeah, you could go have a good time, and they could be very merry, and you'll be dancing with a few girls, and they'll be genuinely happy. Wouldn't that be like a better experience? But yeah, anyway, I think we got a little bit lucky that particular year when I was with Jimmy, because we met like this British girl, and I still don't know her name, her real name. We called her Pinky, and she insisted being called Pinky. Pinky, yeah, Pinky. Very tall, British model. Maybe I didn't know her age, but I'm guessing like mid-20s at the time. And Pinky was part of the group, so sometimes we hang out at her apartment before we go out. And she would come to the after parties that we were throwing at the apartment. And Pinky is, I guess, the best thing. I guess she could listen one day. So shout out to Pinky. Lots of love, baby.
Wait, hold up. She was part of your circle.
Yes.
She would come to the parties and to the after parties.
Yeah.
And you don't know her real name.
And she didn't tell me.
That is the most New York thing I've ever heard so far. Yeah, hanging out with a person.
Her email was Pinky at.
Jesus Christ.
I still have somewhere in like my email contacts. I was looking at like, a while ago. It was like Pinky at some sort of web address. So yeah, that's how she go by. She didn't have my name. Anyway, Pinky was a very unusual kind of like friend as a girl, if you could ever have one. I guess she was a hostess at a nightclub. And I guess we first discovered it when we went to the nightclub where she was a hostess. She was around. I said, Pinky, why don't you bring those two girls that are dancing there in the middle of the dance floor? And as you see two good-looking girls and 6 guys dancing awkwardly around them.
So 2 girls surrounded by 6 guys.
I mean, just by some guys. You could see that the girls are like dancing on their own, but a bunch of guys that are trying to get in on the action. And Pinky brought them to us. And then we kind of started asking her to do that regularly. So in the sense that we'll go out and like, several girls a night. We'll just point out to...
To what extent did you push that? Like...
We pushed it to the extent that we would get girls that are clearly coupled. So for example, you see like 4 or 5 couples kind of like maybe on one table, and then going dancing and say, Pinky, those 2 girls, but not the other 2. And
that would happen?
I mean, I do not remember any time Pinky did not come back with the girls. I mean, they may come for just a little bit, but and they could be married, but they'll come. I mean, you have to imagine yourself in their shoes. Like, there's this hostess that kind of probably they saw at the entrance, or just very beautiful, tall woman speaking with a British accent. And Americans tend to have very kind of feeling of inferiority relative to British speaking people. And
did they consider that exotic, or
they will consider British people sophisticated?
Oh,
they were
okay.
considering her sophisticated. So I guess in their kind of view or their perception of Pinky, she would be this very sophisticated, good-looking woman, clearly. And she would, they would come. I mean, we'll probably we usually will go with a few girls. So like even ratio, maybe like 4 or 5 guys, 4 or 5 girls or something like that. But we'll definitely get like at least 10 or 15 girls on that table throughout the night. But the main point here is like, reality versus illusion. It's like usually when you get like a trader's movie, you see like a guy going or a bunch of guys going to a club or bar, ordering shots or some sort of like, approaching women that they don't know as soon as they meet them. Well, my experience tells me that they're going to blow you off if those women are from Manhattan. First of all, women in Manhattan rarely do shots, and if they do, this is going to be kind of like only one shot. They're not going to do a series of shots.
Let me guess, champagne?
Champagne, yeah. Doesn't need to be Dom Perignon, but if it's Dom Perignon, it'll be good.
Extra points?
Yes. Well, the story is that, again, the comparison that like, you need girls to bring girls. And if you have like a girl like Pinky, you're clearly going to get a lot of girls. We would... we kind of figured out exactly what our style was. We'll go out, we'll basically see which one of those girls stayed or like the girls that we're with. And we'll go to an after party at the apartment with the pool. So usually like around 3 or 4 when the club is about to close. Clubs close at 4 in New York. So like around 3:30, we'll kind of get prepared, see who's coming. And we'll go home. And we'll blast the music in the basement without disturbing the neighbors. We'll have
soundproof?
Yeah, soundproof. We'll have a 67-inch screen projector, so we'll be playing some sort of video music and stuff like that, or maybe some sort of a video without the audio, just playing something different on the stereo. And yeah, we'll dip into the pool.
So let me see if I get this straight. Money is a requirement, but it doesn't necessarily get you an entrance to the scene, to the clubbing scene in New York City. So you got the in. Right. Basically, you got in clubs. You also had a girl that brings you other girls, and you had a 300 square meter apartment, soundproofed, with an indoor pool where you would go after partying.
That's right. It turns out that like
what a boring life you had.
Yeah.
What did you do at the time?
What did I do?
Where did you work?
I work at a hedge fund at that time.
Classic.
Yes. Very classic. The main point is that kind of like nightlife in New York, just because you want to go to the best club doesn't mean that you could go get a table, even if you called the night before. Many of those, like if the party is going to be really good, many of the tables are sold out, and many of the people that are kind of on the waiting list or on the list of entrance have already been kind of like reserved. So in that particular sense, if you're not on the list or you don't have a table, you're going to have to wait. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's just basically that's what the procedure. The bouncer's not going to let you in. You need to know the promoter. If you don't know the promoter, they're not going to let you in. They're going to make you wait. There are certain rooms available for kind of people that bring hot girls. So if you have a hot girl that's with a short skirt, dressed, I guess, as low as possible, you'll get in. But if you're just bringing
You skip the line?
Yeah, you skip a line. If you're just bringing cash without girls, dude, you're waiting.
So if I go with 3 good-looking girls with short skirts, I get in. If I go with 3 guys as friends...
Oh, you're not going to get in. I mean, the bouncer would tell you, dude, get girls. I'm not going to let you
Do they have to be beautiful?
Doesn't necessarily need to be beautiful, but you have to be with girls. If they're not beautiful, this is like the most kind of heartbreaking scene. You go with like a few girls, and let's say they're not like, supermodels. And they'll make you wait, and they see somebody coming with like, a model, and clearly they're not on the list, and they'll let them in. So immediately like realize that the bouncer is like saying, hey, you're not good looking.
You're not good looking. You're gonna wait.
Yes.
Damn. That's brutal.
That's brutal. And I guess it's kind of true for every kind of major metropolitan kind of scene. So if you go to London, or you go into Hong Kong, things like that will happen. It'll be very intense in that particular sense. So girls need to look good, need to be like looking really kind of, I guess, modelish. And if they're not, You need to be on the list or on the table. You're not going to get in just like that, especially if it's a popular club and it's a popular night, special night, some special occasion. Forget about it. You're not going to get in. You could be waiting for like 2 hours and they'll not let you in.
Forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. Right.
As previously mentioned, you are one of the co-founders of a hedge fund.
Yes.
Did somebody ever approach you with I personally don't know how this works, but an offer that consisted of, I don't know, going out on somebody else's expense?
That happens all the time. So like in that particular sense, like if you're doing business with somebody, that particular person would kind of like, has the ability to expense certain part of the commissions you pay on entertainment or kind of meeting clients. At the time when I was first starting working at Taiki, there were no regulations on the limit. So it's like the brokers really would kind of like, do crazy shit.
What we see in the movies.
Yeah, what you see in the movies. Like private jets, exotic locations, kind of no bounds. So yeah, things like that could happen. You would hear about people doing things like that. It's no longer the case. I think people started realizing that's really not a good system. So people started cracking down and they introduced limits. But in the early years, there were no limits. And you definitely hear about stories about people going to Miami and then deciding to get like a speedboat to go get a mojito in Havana and then coming back. Something crazy like that.
Okay.
And that, I don't know if that happened, but yeah, we heard about the story. The guy that went with the broker to Miami to party in the middle of the night, they said, hey, let's go to Havana, have a mojito, and went there with the speedboat and came back. I don't know if that's realistic in terms of would the Cubans let you in? But yeah, something crazy like that.
Has something as crazy happened to you?
Yeah, but not that crazy. Not like not to the extent that the Wolf of Wall Street describing it, but there have been some crazy parties that some brokers would throw, and yeah, that's. I guess that was part of life.
So have you been explicitly taken out by a broker somewhere away from New York City on their expense?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, they call those conferences. I guess Vegas a few times. And
For a conference?
For a conference, yeah. But there was no speakers. Yeah, broker decides to take you out and, we'll go to Vegas.
Cool.
And most important thing is sometimes we would have company parties. Companies parties could be actually quite intense depending on how people do it, especially if it's a small group. So that could be actually quite the experience. Flying first class, staying at the very nice hotels, going to several events, like shows and stuff like that. Maybe doing something crazy like parachute jumping or shooting or some extreme sports, things like that. But yeah, things like that do happen and have happened to me. Yes, but maybe this is kind of like the point where I want to tell another story. And as you begin to kind of see the same people and kind of get to know them, you certainly see other people doing other crazy rockstar lifestyles. And in my opinion, one of the kind of most intense or long dated life that I've seen people do it partying was Wes. And Wes, if you're ever hearing, lots of love, brother. In my opinion, it's just Wes was also a broker, and he was basically undisputed king in the nightclubs. I mean, he was the kind of guy that you'd go to his table and there'll be 10 good-looking girls. 10 good-looking girls, basically 5.
So kind of like Dan Bilzerian nowadays?
There will be probably not like, kind of like girls you would definitely recognize, but certainly like, extremely beautiful, like strikingly beautiful, I would say. Like, and usually there will be some sort of like models that in New York for like several months. And yeah, he would, I've never seen anybody before or ever seen like that consistently, like probably like 2-3 nights a week, going out with consistently lots of good looking girls. In the beginning, I was kind of envious and kind of like thinking, man, like, I mean, I think I have it. I mean, even if you're in some sort of like a kind of like have some sort of like a niche or group of friends or some sort of like a way of partying.
And you think you're cool?
Yeah.
Then you meet Wes.
Then you meet Wes. And Wes is actually one of the nicest guys. Like this is like a pattern. Like people think that good-looking girls, really good-looking girls, are attracted to a kind of type A personality, and my experience tells me that they're not. I mean, there's certain women that are attracted to different, but really, really good-looking girls are probably attracted to a soft personality, somebody that's nice, genuinely nice, and I'll give you like the experience. So this is maybe kind of towards the end, and Wes probably has been doing this for 5 years, and we're sitting at one table with him, and it's maybe like 1 o'clock. One of the girls wants to go home, so Wes calls like a limo and goes out with her and puts her in the limo and comes back into the club, and maybe
A limo just for her.
just for her,
One of the 10 girls.
one of the 10 girls. And then at 1:30, maybe like half an hour later, another girl wants to leave, and he does the same thing. Limo for her, he goes out.
Isn't limo service expensive in New York?
I guess so. And when he came back, I said, Wes, like, all those good-looking girls, that's really nice, super nice. But I'm beginning to think this is like the tip of the iceberg, and you probably need to call those girls and return their phone calls, maybe send flowers on their birthdays to all those girls. You need to remember birthdays, because women tend to be very sensitive about that. And I'm beginning to think that, like, this is not exactly like, easy. And he said, yeah, it's not. I mean, the reason why, people, the truth is that most men would probably not go to the extent that Wes goes to maintain the relationship with those women. And people everywhere kind of value kind of people that are genuinely nice. But my experience tells me that exceptionally good-looking women, like models that have seen it all, you can't impress them with money, you can't impress them with like attitude. Like tend to value this more. Yeah.
Interesting. So would you say that Wes had an entrance in every club, every event?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember like once for like Valentine's Day, I really needed like a reservation at this French restaurant that was basically not taking reservations, and all I need to do is call West, and I got it.
The Wes got you the reservation?
Yeah, West got
For
it.
Valentine's Day?
Yeah, for Valentine's Day. And that's...
I guess you didn't call like a month in advance.
No, I called 2 days. 2 days in advance. 2 days in advance.
Nice.
Yes. So, yeah.
So Wes was known by promoters, by event makers and everything.
Yeah, I mean, he would get in, like, he'll get those people on the, like, dial speed. So, like, basically he would you'll be able to get it. I mean, he'll give you options. Like, it doesn't mean that he'll get you in every event, in every restaurant. In that particular case, he did. But, like, he'll give you an option. He certainly has, like, a few options for clients that he's made reservations for, just in case, something like that.
So, once again, there's an intersection between the broker's work and nightlife. So he uses basically his figure in his situation, his
connections.
Connections. Yeah, he uses them with clients.
That's right. I mean, that's what a good broker is. Like, he kind of helps clients with those situations. Not just, I mean, it would be very good if he is actually good at his job, but brokers by their definition do know a lot of people. And if you're working at a hedge fund and all day you're doing some sort of calculation in Excel or some sort of research, clearly you don't have that much time to meet a lot of people. A broker by his nature would probably know a lot of people. And as I said, if they do go out regularly with clients, by nature, he would probably meet a lot of people in that kind of industry. So by knowing a broker, that's a good entry. Or you becoming a broker, you certainly know everybody. So part of your job would be to go out to clients, meet new prospective clients. And those are good introductions. So a broker would need to have relatively active social life. That's just part of the job. If you're working as a broker in New York, whatever broker, derivatives, credit derivatives, government bonds, you probably do have like a relatively active social calendar.
Okay, so let's say that Wes goes out with young girls and with a little bit more of a company. Obviously, they don't go to bad places. They go to good-looking places, right?
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, nice clubs, nice restaurants.
Yeah, good-looking girls. If you take them to some sort of like a half-empty club, that's a capital offense for you. You need to take them out with the people.
You need to take them out to be seen.
Yeah, and take them out and be seen, yes.
So they want it. Okay, I presume West pays the whole bill, the entire bill?
I mean, I don't know if every time he pays the bill, but every time I've seen him, he paid the bill.
How much would that be in your opinion? I mean, when was that? That was early 2000?
Yeah,
late 90s or
early 2000s.
Early
2000 maybe 3 to 2005, something like that.
How much would be the bill?
Difficult to say. Maybe in nowadays, if we kind of double it, probably be like between $5,000 and $6,000. Maybe in those times like 3,000. But 10 girls is a lot. So like I'm talking about like overall maybe 2 to 5,000 for like depending for overall 10 people. If you have 20 people on the table, you need to double that.
But he said that he does that several times a week.
Yeah, several times a week.
So it stacks up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a good broker, like, people like you, they'll do business with you.
Okay, is another question. How much have you personally spent on a night out? The most that you spent on?
A few thousand. Like, I mean, I don't pay for everybody. Like, I mean, in the sense that I pay for myself. Maybe if I invite like several people, I'll pay for them. But yeah, I don't... I don't bring like 10 people, 10 girls, and pay the bill. And
I mean, you weren't a stockbroker or a broker introducing broker or anything of the sort.
No, I mean usually that's like the whole thing. That's why you go with brokers. Go with the broker for him to pay the bill. If you have to start paying this yourself, like you think twice or 3 times. I mean, the different. I guess like the most insane thing we did is like a few weekends in Miami, and those things could add up. If you go during the Winter Music Festival, that's like could be really intense. It's kind of like in February, and probably a lot of the people in New York, especially involved.
That's still good weather, right? In Miami.
Excellent weather. Like lots of good DJs. All the clubs are full. There's basically lots of celebrities, lots of sports stars. Lots of girls, and it could be really crazy in the sense that I remember one night, like we were, sun is rising, and we're going to after hours club, so it must have been like 7 o'clock or something like that, and that's not unheard of during a Winter Music Festival. So I guess that weekend maybe took me back more than a few thousand.
Okay, is cocaine an essential part of partying in New York? Because it certainly is in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes. Drugs in general are very prevalent. Pretty much more than 50%, I would say maybe like at least 80% are users or casual users.
80%?
Yes. It's kind of like, I mean, I guess it's part of the life. I don't know what to say.
That goes on the entire night, even the after party.
Yeah, especially after the after party.
Oh, especially in the after party.
Especially in the after party. So, in the beginning, like, you can't be doing, people cannot be doing cocaine in the club visibly, but you see girls going to the bathroom together, guys going to the stool 2 or 3 at a time. Clearly, like, they could be doing something different than what the stool was designed for. But yeah, after hours parties, probably just 100% sure that the after hours party is going to be drugs, probably.
Do you miss that lifestyle?
No, I guess there's a certain amount about, like, in the sense that kind of what happened is I really kind of fell in love with, like, a woman and dropped out of the scene. And as soon as I kind of met her and kind of starting reevaluating my relationships and stopped going out, 500 people dropped out of my life. So
the others continued?
Yeah, the others continue. So in that particular sense, that you create a lot of relationships, but those relationships are based on kind of like a very limited kind of interest in music, or maybe just kind of having a good time. And in reality, you don't see many of those people under any other circumstances. And I kept in touch with Timmy, I kept in touch with Wes and a few of the other people, but virtually, as soon as I stopped going out, 500 people stopped calling me, stopped writing me, and I've never seen them again. So in that particular sense, like, I think that it was just a party, and as soon as the music stopped and there's nothing to distract you, like a dancing or lights or music or alcohol, you realize you have nothing in common with those people. And it's just a matter of time before your kind of life takes a different direction from theirs. Yeah.
It's been a while since you've been to New York City, right?
Yeah, probably 10 years.
Do you think something has changed?
Probably not. I mean, the faces have changed. The kind of like the clubs' names have changed. Like, the preference for music and maybe alcohol and kind of like drugs maybe have changed. But the nature of the scene is still the same. It's probably very much difficult to, like, get into, like, the most popular clubs unless you know the promoters. Probably, I mean, this is like the strange thing is, like, you see same different people, but they do act the same. So, like, people with kind of like with different faces and different personalities, but in reality, what they'll do will be kind of like a kind of the same. This is like I just want to add before we go. Is like, I remember one night we were going to the nightclub where Pinky worked, and we were getting ready to, like, do the same thing. So we're gonna go out, we're gonna get some girls, and we're gonna go do an after party at
Here
our
with
place.
Timmy.
With Timmy, and we go to the club, and Mike Piazza was in the club, and Mike Piazza was like the captain of the New York Mets, and he basically maybe like a year ago had signed like $100 million deal guaranteed.
100 guaranteed.
100 guaranteed
Nice.
in 2004. And you could see that everybody was looking at Mike Piazza. Like, guys are looking at Mike Piazza. And
Girls are looking at
Mike Piazza. And we had no pool. We didn't even ask Pinky to bring his girl that night. We didn't even, like, we were just partying with, like, the girls that we went to. And that's when you realize, like, you could party like a rock star, and you could kind of have some sort of insight or some sort of a kind of like pull or whatever you want to call influence or know people, but nothing stands like the genuine rock star. So Mike Piazza was a rock star, and everybody knew him.
A true rock star.
True rock star. Everybody had seen him on the news. Everybody had seen him on, like, the sports editions of the news, and yeah, people recognize him. So if you're Mike Piazza, kind of like, if people seen your face
on TV,
you could get anywhere you want. So in that particular sense, you feel kind of humbled, that in a sense that, like, I'm not a rock star. I mean, I kind of party like a rock star.
It may look like I'm a rock star.
Yeah,
true rock star.
When I meet people, I pretend I'm a rock star, and that I'm like, but I'm really not. And yeah, like, when you see that, hey, why? I mean, this is kind of like a question that kind of buried inside my consciousness. I said, like, what it's gonna take to be a real rock star. Not party like a rock star, but just be a rock star and then party once in a while. And that's that was that was a question that was too painful to ask myself, so I buried it.
Okay, last question.
Yes.
What exactly was understated in The Wolf of Wall Street in regards of partying?
The party was one-dimensional, so in the sense that it was always some sort of like a wild kind of thing. Sometimes, like sometimes there are like more classy elements in the sense that like you could go and like hire a private DJ and go to the Hamptons and kind of like have a very nice weekend. Before everybody blasts off, all those guys were like taking drugs right away all the time. There are some periods when majority of the people are like not blasted off and not high, and you could have like some real nice moments. So you go to Miami and enjoy different kind of like DJs throughout the day. So in that particular sense, that all those like crazy scenes could be interrupted by some sort of like actually very cool and maybe even romantic, or if you want to say kind of like classy moments. So in that particular sense, what they didn't have like the proper mix. I mean, they kind of overstated certain aspects of all the drug taking. What they didn't really do, what's understated is that particular kind of inclusion of normalness. So even if somebody has some sort of like a crazy lifestyle, and I've seen plenty of brokers are exceptionally prone to those kind of things, and they do have like a crazy few nights or something like that, but then like they return to work and they're sober for a few days at least, and some sort of a normality mixed into it. In that particular sense, many of the scenes in The Wolf of Wall Street was just one-dimensional. And those things do happen, but they're kind of mixed in with some sort of a normality. Even people that are completely out of hand do have some periods in their day where like they're normal, or like periods in the week when they're normal. It's very unusual for people to be completely on drugs all the time, and I've never seen that. I've never seen that.
That probably won't last long anyway.
Yeah.
Is it cool to party in the Hamptons?
Oh, it's very cool. Hamptons is actually very cool. Hamptons is very cool.
You did that?
Yeah. That's another rock star that we went to visit. Like, he had a house on the Hamptons with the pool and DJ that was there. So, yeah.
He owned it. He owned the house.
Yeah, he owned it. Quite a big house. That was his party pad. Outside New York. Yeah. Crazy parties. Crazy parties.
I asked about the strippers. Oh, no, wait. I asked about cocaine. Is it an essential part? Are strippers as well?
No.
No?
No. Strippers are just what we would kindly call Bridgerton crowd kind of choice. Not that like you would not go to strip clubs. If people want to go to strip clubs.
No, not necessarily strip clubs, like hiring strippers.
Not unless like as I said, like usually with like at least the group I was with, the premium was like having a good time. The people that I surrounded myself, and go to like more classy kind of places with more classy girls. If you bring strippers and start being overtly sexual, many normal women would be turned off by that.
I see. So
Yeah.
you were partying like a rock star, but at the same time staying classy.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that I never went to a strip club. It wasn't really my thing. It wasn't really my thing, and it wasn't really my thing. I do prefer like a night with a few beautiful women, very good looking, like someone from Eastern Europe models that have been in New York for like a few months, then go to like a strip club. That's I guess. Not everybody's like that, but I guess a lot the people that I hang out with, like I felt kind of similarly. Like, why do you want to go to the strip club? I mean, these girls would be pretending. Don't you want to have listen to good music, have the women have fun and dance with them? Wouldn't you enjoy that more if the women enjoy your presence?
Okay, but you kind of make it sound like you were partying, but you wouldn't get how should I say, you wouldn't get fucked up. And that's kind of all it was shown on The Wolf of Wall Street.
Well, it's just a matter of time, in the sense that, like, I was kind of partying maybe for like 9 months to a year, like that. If you do this continuously, at some point, you wouldn't be able to stop it. And that particular sense gets addictive. Like, this becomes a very big part of your life. And you're constantly thinking about where to go out, where we get girls, where we get, like, drugs and something like that. So this would overwhelm you. Given enough time, this lifestyle is very addictive, and you probably invariably will become an addict. So there are a few people that actually manage to stay away this for a few years, or maybe like even longer. But those are like a very the exception. So it's like there's always like kind of like for example, like if you kind of like I definitely felt that I would become a drug user. That was part of the reason why I wanted to stop. It's like it's very attractive to kind of like go and take drugs, and at some point, like, I just realized I'm kind of designed with the wrong nervous system, and if I stay in this kind of environment for too long, I would definitely become a drug addict, and I don't know if I could stop. And some people are designed differently. I do know people, like, that basically never took drugs and did this for a very long time, like Wes.
Also, Wes didn't take drugs.
No. Just kind of strange, but yeah, like, I guess it does have to do with kind of like how nice of a person you are, and maybe how what's your relationship with the other people, in the sense that, like, do you have good relationship with the people that you go out with? Maybe nothing bad happening in your life. If you're experiencing some stress, you'd be kind of tempted to do it. If you're a hedge fund manager, you're always under some sort of stress. So people call it like the computer never stops compiling in your head. So there's always you're worried about something. So it's an easy escape. And it's really not a good pattern. Like, not a good way of dealing with stress. But it seems helpful, especially in the short term. So many people resort to that.
Did you have that type of going out where when the morning comes, you wake up and just like in The Hangover 2, Stu wakes up and he doesn't know where he is? And if you had that, do you think it's more likely to have that moment in New York City or in Miami?
Definitely in Miami. I mean, it's like once you change in the scene, like once you kind of like go outside your home comfort, people tend to go really berserk. So if you go
berserk,
if you go to Vegas and you go to Miami, you're a lot more likely to experience that. Like if you kind of like partying like at night after work in New York, or even on a weekend in New York, it's a little bit more easy to kind of control yourself. But once you go to Vegas, and the reason is very simple. Like in Vegas, they pump up the rooms with oxygen, so it's like it's very difficult to sleep. So that you could gamble and
really,
the room are oxygenated, so it's like excessive amounts of oxygen. So, or at least that's what I remember from speaking to a guy, that they basically pump up the rooms with extra oxygen so that you don't sleep. I don't know if it's true, but it seems my quality of sleep in Vegas is like really low. And Vegas is New York is, I would say, kind of relatively sophisticated. If you go to Miami or Vegas, things are very, very aggressive. For example, if you go with a girl to Miami and take your girlfriend, or like take a friend, whatever, or your wife to Miami, and you go partying at the club, you'd better not let her go by herself to the restroom, because the bunch of guys that are going to try to kind of approach her, certainly try to hold her hand and kind of grab her. That's normal. It's really normal. Like it's kind of like I couldn't believe it, but yeah, like guys are very aggressive, or at least were very aggressive in Miami and Vegas. Could be certainly in Miami. Yeah, and New York partying is different. So like in Vegas and Miami, it's everything about like overtly sexual. Everything is overtly sexual, and it's different. It's kind of different. That kind of thing wouldn't happen in New York. So like a girl could really go to a good club without getting overtly worried about people kind of trying to grab her. But in Miami, that would be a regular case. Like really, girls would go only together, or like you need to go with them to the bathroom, because otherwise, like somebody would start grabbing them, and multiple people would start grabbing them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your stories.
All
Certainly,
right.
as usual, quite interesting. So thank you for that, Mr. Stoykov.
All right, Mr. Kuchev. I hope the audience enjoys it, and we're looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. See you on the next one.